Hey guys, this is the third video in this series. So in this one, I'm going to go to the coding sessions. But before I go to the coding session, this kind of thing, so I just want to show you one diagram. So this one, since is written, everything is written in the domain-driven design way, right? So what you can see, at first I show you how the domain-driven design works, so you guys don't get complicated because actually there are many projects. So if you see so far, okay. So I haven't done the application. Normally I do another one also for application. If you see in the domain driven design, there is one core, one services, and one application. But since this one is a language agnostic, and as I said on the previous videos, we have both Python and we have TypeScript, right? If you see the series, okay. So there would be the same layers, okay, for both TypeScript and Python. And if there is a C# or C++ in the future, as I want to expand, there would be for those two. So okay, so what's first of all regarding the domain driven design, so just reiterate, if you guys see my old videos, so there will be always core. So this core, this is where you don't have any dependencies, okay. And after that there will be a services is where that we do the implementation, and there is an application is where we wire up the entire thing. So let me show you this one in this project. Okay, so first of all, the name of the project, this one is total garbage. Okay, definitely I'm going to change it. Originally I wanted to make it only a YouTube video, but after that I develop. After 1 week I see that, man, this thing is getting massive, so I will do something like that. So this one is a project. Okay, so normally what I do in the TypeScript side, because in TypeScript is a very big pain to create libraries and so on and so forth, right? So what I do is that, for example, I start doing my stuff in simple one. For example, I have one for core. So in core, what I'm keeping is a score. Let me show you again core. Okay, core is here. Okay, so there's supposed to be 0 dependencies. So in the core, what I'm doing is that I'm keeping my errors. For example, I have different kind of exceptions. So for example, this is one of the exceptions that I have. So if you see, this one does not have any dependency, so there is no import or whatsoever in here. So after that, I have a session manager. Okay, so for example, I have a session manager. This one get the user, for example, save the user, this kind of thing. So yeah, blah blah blah, this kind of thing. Okay, so this one is this one also is a what they call it. This one is also an interface. For example, you have types. So this one is for your dependency injection. So for example, it means that now, for example, you can do a user repository. For example, you can, for example, inject a repository or session manager. So these things you have to do it for TypeScript. Okay, so in the TypeScript I keep all the types in the code. However, if this one was C#, so they wouldn't be in the code, but in the TypeScript I keep all the dependencies inside the code. So this is so far up to this moment. So this one is the core. After the core, what we have is the next is the services. So inside the services I have multiple services. What the one that I'm mostly interested to show you guys is this one, plugin service. Okay, so since the previous video we were talking about the plugin and so on and so forth, right? This one is a service that I'm going to use in my router. So let me show you my router. First, let me show you the place that everything is assembled together. So this is the place that everything is assembled together. So here we are wiring this thing. Okay. So if you come from the domain driven design world, so this one, it would be your main, I would say, something like your main. So but in TypeScript we separate it. Okay, so it normally in TypeScript you have one index.ts. Okay, so the index.ts, for example, he listen to a port or whatsoever. For example, you have an app, after that he listen, you have an app, after that this kind of thing. But there is a place also for Inversify to this is a pattern I see common they use when they use the Inversify, they do like that. So they have something called inversify.config, is a place that is assembling the entire thing. So in here, all your dependencies is come from here. If you see here, for example, some of the dependencies come from the core. Some of them, they come from the services. Okay, so what are these things? These things is the things in here, core and services. Okay, this one, it won't be okay. So this one, it won't be a final application. What does it mean? It means that this thing originally supposed to be a YouTube tutorial, but after I expand it. Yeah, so originally when it was I was thinking to make it a YouTube tutorial. This one's supposed to be an application, okay? But now since that I'm making it more like a services, so this one would be a services. So suppose not, this thing supposed not to have a the index.ts supposed not to be executable, okay? So the index.ts supposed to be a bunch of import, export, this kind of things. But I haven't done it yet, but I will do it in the future. But okay, let's go to here. Okay, so this one is all the services. After that, core, those kind of thing, entities. Okay, so I have another thing on entities. Entities for this one is all my database stuff. Okay, so the things that I'm doing for the by the way, if you see here, there is one thing called idea river core. Okay, so that one is a separate project. So it means that the core, okay, so this core that you see, so inside the project I have a core, I have a core global also. So complicated, right? So normally, originally I start from I do the things in the core. After that I refactor them and I bring them to separate project. So if you see the separate project idea river core.public is here, okay? So this one is the one that he has all the juice. It means that all the pure dependencies. For example, you have something like, for example, iBase plugin. Okay, so this one is the iBase plugin. Actually, this one, all the plugins, okay, that you create, okay, supposed to be created from this base plugin. So I have the same similar thing actually in the Python side as well. Okay, let me go to the Python side. Okay, I have the Python side here. Okay, this one is Python services. This one is a Python core. If you come to the Python core, for the plugin, also we have something called base plugin. Okay, so this base plugin, if you compare this base plugin to the one that just now I show you, so idea river, yeah. So if you see these two, they are similar. Okay, so it means that you would have a similar approach for both of them, but in different languages. So this is the power of the thing. But the structure is the same. It means that what I'm trying to say is that I have the same concept both for TypeScript side, and I have the same approach for the Python side. So it means that in the Python side, you have idea river core.public. So this one public because previously I developing a lot of private things. So now I'm making it public slowly. Okay. Otherwise, this one's supposed to be only idea river core, and there's supposed to be another one, idea river core Python. So it means that same approach. Again, in here, for example, you have something like idea river services Python. Okay, so it means that I'm coming to this layer. And in reality, this one that I say like YouTube, it is idea river services for TypeScript. So I have to change the name of the thing. So I'm developing the same approach both in Python and in TypeScript. So it makes it the moment that you do this kind of thing is very standard. So next time somebody go to your, for example, source code or something, he know core is core. Okay, services is services, application is application. You just have to understand your the way that you assemble stuff. After that, you know what's going on. So I hope you guys understand these things. Okay, but to be honest with you, before do this, okay, although I have a core. And for example, another one in here, I have another language agnostic thing, call it idea river schema. In reality, all those things that you see, for example, plugin, all those DTOs, those kind of things, I define them in open API format. So for example, you can see all the schemas that what they need. ID is supposed to be, for example, if you see something like plugin metadata that it is exists in both in idea river core TypeScript and the other one, there's supposed to be a ID, there's supposed to be a title. So this one is more like a documentation. In a documentation that it may tell the guy that, for example, an idea river core is in the idea river core is what it is this guy. An idea river core supposed to have this type of metadata. For example, it's supposed to have ID title and the type of the ID supposed to be UID and these kind of things, So this is more type of documentation, but this is a how to say that this is a master documentation. I first of all the time when I'm developing this thing, at first I will develop this thing for that schema. So that's documentation. After that, based on that documentation, I come update this one and that one. This is absolutely pain in the neck. Okay. Originally, I was thinking to make the schema, for example, auto-generated, but after I do it, I see that I'm creating weird dependency because I was using it with sub-modules in a Git and those kind of things. So I said, no, never mind. I still do it manual until I find out a better way. So never mind. Let's go to the Inversify. Okay, so in the Inversify, this one is where that I'm doing all the things. It means that I am assembling the entire thing. So the way that I assemble the entire thing, I have two things. So one is initialize container and another one is exit. Okay, so another one is for exit the container. Okay, so the initialize the container is a start. It initialize your container the time that you are spinning off the thing, and exit the container, it will call when you want to shut the business down, right? Close the door and say goodbye, right? So okay, so why you need the exit container? Exit container is as important as the initialize container, especially if you're doing the test, those kind of thing. You want to make sure that you are closing all your connection gracefully. Okay, for example, now I have a RabbitMQ. I want to kill the channels before I'm killing the guy. So this is the reason that exit container is very important. Otherwise, your test will start to scream. This is something that we don't like. You see weird errors like just did not close gracefully. So there was still an open connection, blah blah blah, this kind of thing. But when you do this one properly, your test won't scream. So, and there would be another function also that this one is also is very important. This one is a container middleware. Okay, so because I'm using Express, in reality, what I'm doing is that I'm injecting the container to the requests, injecting that one. Yeah, you see, I'm injecting it here. So this is the most important thing. Okay, so in reality, there are other approaches. So for example, you can use the decorators, those kind of things. I'm not supporter of those. Okay, I don't like to use the class-based express inversify. What I prefer is that I inject a container through the middleware. So this one is the first part. Okay, so let's go to the initialize container. So in the initialize container, so we have in the initialize container, what we have is that we have to first get some configuration files and those kind of things. Okay, so the place that this configuration file it exists, it is here, ideariver.config. To be honest with you, okay, this one itself actually is a Git repository. Okay, ideariver config. If you go to my GitHub, okay, if you go to my GitHub, you trace ideariver.config. Hopefully, I won't show you any secrets. So okay, so if you come to the ideariver.config, for example, you can see, for example, okay, this configuration file is there or something like that. So this one is a sub module. So why you may ask that why in bloody hell you doing this? Because okay, so first of all, why I do a configuration module? The reason that I'm doing this is because you can do the environmental variable, right? So you don't need to have configuration. I hate environmental variable in large project. Okay, it become out of control. However, for example, configuration file like this is more manageable, I would say. Especially now, for example, the thing that is that I'm doing this one open source, right? So I don't want to restrict people. So I want to be this one reusable. So if, for example, somebody else he doesn't like my entire project, but like this project, for example, in a different way, so he can, for example, take this thing and just remove that, for example, submodule, and for example, replace it with his submodule, because actually changing the submodule is very easy, In here, you just come and, for example, you just change, for example, say that the Git repository that take this one is not this, it's yours. So you can change the entire configuration of the entire project, So it make it very fun. So you can have your own configuration. For example, now, for example, in this project, I'm using, for example, task queue, for example, like this. Okay, for example, in your version, for example, you make the task queue whatever you want. For example, you make it, for example, capital letter or whatsoever. Okay, so it make it way more powerful, because maybe, who knows, maybe, for example, in your existing infrastructure, you're using task queue, right? You can just change my stuff with your stuff. So it make it more simpler. I hope it makes sense. And besides that, also environmental variables, for example, for example, system, those things is not scalable. For example, when you have thousands of configuration, normally in my applications, everything, the application itself is, nothing is hard coded inside. Okay, I hate hard coded things inside. It means that everything is a configuration. So I want to be able to configure everything. Okay, so your technician can do that, this kind of thing. So this one was the first one. Okay, so the next thing that it is that, so you get, for example, you start to do your bindings. Okay, so what you do is that, for example, just now we get the topic mappings. After that, I'm doing the topic mappings. It means that I'm doing it. This one is a very nice pattern about the inversify. I really love this one. Okay, I don't remember, but I believe that in C# we didn't have something. I was doing something similar like this, but not like this way exactly. So what you are doing in here is that, for example, you're telling him that if anybody asks for topic mapping, give him this constant value. So this constant value that we just created, okay, we just read it from the configuration file, okay. You are creating you making it as a constant, so you parse it. After that, you make it a constant. After that, you give him as a constant value. So it means that anyone that asks for this thing, okay, let's see who is asking for this thing. Who is asking for this thing? Okay, it looks like many people asking for this thing. Okay, so let's see, for example, here. So for example, okay, if for example this service or for example this router asking for this thing, okay, so he just can ask the container and he get all your configuration. This is a way that I'm injecting the configuration, and this is a very nice pattern, to be honest with you. You will see this one, I'm using it very often. So it means that rather than, for example, read the things from the environmental variable and for example everything is global, okay, so you can inject things, and make it make the thing very customizable and very flexible, I would say. You will see this one in more detail later in the next one. I will show you more, okay, how I'm doing this thing. Yeah, this video is 20 minutes already, so in the next video I will continue with how I'm assembling the thing. So thank you for watching.